lost my way trying to be who they wanted. Smiled on the outside, inside I was haunted.
Welcome back to the Queen Reset. I have thought about this moment many times. I have wondered what I will say, how I will explain where I have been, and how I will begin again. The truth is, I did not step away because I stopped caring. I did not leave because I no longer believed in this work. I stepped away because life was asking something different of me. It was asking me to slow down, to listen, to grieve, to heal, and to return to myself before I could return to this microphone. The woman speaking to you today is not the same woman who stepped away. And I say that with gratitude. Because sometimes life changes us in ways we do not understand while we are living through them. Sometimes we think we are losing our direction when we are actually being redirected. Sometimes what feels like a pause is really a season of preparation. That is what this time became for me, a season of becoming. I experienced loss. I lost my father. And grief has a way of changing the way you see everything. It changes your relationship with time. It changes the way you think about family, purpose, love, and what truly matters. Some days, grief is very present. Other days, it sits quietly in the background, but it teaches you. It softens you. It reminds you that life is precious, and it asks you to live more honestly. One of the things my father believed deeply was that living is giving. That has stayed with me. It is part of how I see my work. It is part of why I care so much about helping women. But during my time away, I also learned that giving must come from a place that is nourished. You cannot constantly pour out and never return to yourself. You cannot encourage everyone else to heal while ignoring what your own heart needs. You cannot keep moving simply because people are used to seeing you move. Sometimes you need to be still. Sometimes you need to be quiet. Sometimes you need to let yourself be held. That is what I needed. I needed space to feel what I was feeling. I needed space to understand what this new season of my life was asking of me. I needed space to reconnect with my faith, my body, my roots, and my own voice. And I needed time to remember that I did not have to rush my healing. For a long time, I thought about coming back. People will ask me, when is the podcast returning? Are you going to record again? I miss hearing your voice. And every time someone asks, something in me stirred. Because I knew the podcast was not finished. I knew the work was not finished. And I knew my voice still had a place. But I also knew I did not want to return simply because people were asking. I wanted to return when I could speak from a place of peace, not because every part of my life was perfect, but because I felt rooted enough to begin again. And now I do. I feel ready to speak, ready to share, ready to have deeper conversations, and ready to create a space where women can breathe, reflect, and reconnect with themselves. The Queen Reset is returning with more clarity. It is still a space for wellness. But wellness to me has become something much fuller. It is not only about what we eat. It is not only about exercise. It is not only about weight routines or what we look like from the outside. Wellness is also about how we feel inside our own lives. It is about whether we are listening to our bodies, whether we are honoring our emotions, whether we are resting, whether we are living in alignment with who we are becoming, whether we still recognize ourselves beneath everything we carry. That is where I want this podcast to go. We are going to talk about ancestral wellness, about the foods, plants, traditions, and practice that have supported our communities for generations. We are going to talk about African womanhood, about identity, about belonging, about healing, about boundaries, about faith, about the body, about midlife and becoming, about the things we sometimes forget when life becomes busy, loud, or disconnected. And most of all, we are going to talk about coming home to ourselves. not becoming someone new for the world, but remembering who we are beneath the noise. This season will be mainly in English. That is the language in which I can currently express myself most naturally and emotionally. But I want my French-speaking and Wolof-speaking community to know that you are still part of this journey. There will be French summaries, selected French episodes, and moments where French and Wolof will have their place. This podcast is growing, but it is not leaving anyone behind. I have learned something important during my time away. Sometimes we think that if we step back, everything will move on without us. We think we have missed our moment. We think we should have returned sooner. We think we have to explain every part of where we have been. But I no longer believe that. I believe there are seasons where silence is necessary. There are seasons when your life needs your full attention. There are seasons when healing becomes the work. And there are seasons when your voice returns. This is that season for me. Maybe you are listening and you have been in your own quiet season. Maybe you have been taking care of everyone else. Maybe you have been moving through grief. Maybe you have been rebuilding something privately. Maybe you have felt disconnected from the woman you used to be. I want you to know that there is no shame in taking the time you need. You do not have to rush your return. You do not have to explain everything. You do not have to become who you were before. Sometimes the most beautiful you can do is allow yourself to become who this season is calling you to be. That is what I'm doing. I'm not returning as the woman I was. I'm returning with more softness, more wisdom, more patience, more faith, more respect for the seasons of life, and more commitment to use my voice in a way that feels honest and meaningful. This is not simply a comeback. It is a return to my voice, a return to my calling, a return to the work I know I am here to do, and a return to the woman I am meant to walk beside. The next episode is called Our Grandmothers Were Holistic Healers. They just called it living. We are going to talk about the wisdom that existed before wellness became an industry. The herbs, the food, the prayer, the movement, the community. The way our grandmothers care for the body, the spirit, and the home. But today, I simply wanted to return to sit with you, to thank you for waiting, and to let you know that I'm here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for remembering me. And thank you for welcoming back. This is the Queen Reset. I am Aja Diak, and I did not disappear. I was becoming. Welcome back, my queen.
Built up a life, but it didn't feel mine. So God broke it down just to realign. I gave my love, I gave my trust, carried the weight, turned pain to dust. They didn't see what I held inside. A quiet storm that was born to rise. Had to lose it all just to see my light. Had to walk alone through the darkest nights. Now